George here, and we are back again with my animatronic game. And last we left off, I was trying to implement the system for picking up and also combining that with using. So let's dive back into where we left off, and I believe that was with the controls themselves. So let's go to the, right, we have a required for all levels now, then we have a body, and we have the controller left and right, and I think I was working with the right one. Let's open that up first. Okay, so here we are. We had done what? We have the on-use start and on-use end triggers. We were storing the objects, the hovered pickup and stored pickup, which is what you're actually holding. And down here, when we use the key, the down or the up, we were then going to pick it up or release it. So on-use start, else if, so if usable object is not equal to null, then do something with usable objects. Otherwise, if we're not currently on a usable object, but we are over a hoverable object, then go ahead and store that object. Now, of course, this might become a problem if the object is both usable and hoverable, something that we'll have to figure out later on when that occasion arises. So anyway, else if hover pickup, if stored pickup, then we set the transform is equal to null. The parent's null, that means we release it. If stored pickup already exists, then we release whatever we currently had. And then what do we do next? Now we should probably turn off the collider for that object to make sure that we don't intersect it. But anyway, because I could see us releasing it and then it passing through us and causing a cascade of trigger events, which could be bad for us. So we might need to think about that. If stored pickup, transfer to null. Otherwise, what we're going to do is we're going to find hover pickup game object. If we have a hover pickup, then we do this transform hover pickup vector 0 identity. Then we set stored pickup equal to this, and then hover pickup should be equal to null after that. Now we need to do the same thing or similar thing for on end, which we have here. So on use end, when we're not dealing with a usable object, we're dealing with a stored, and if we have a stored pickup object, then we're going to release the stored pickup object by setting it equal to null, and we then set the stored pickup object equal to null as well. This is not allowing any kind of physics to work in the game. So if we come over here, all of our animatronics parts right now, I believe, are free-floating and are set to is kinematic. So let's see here. Yes, they're all is kinematic. We're probably going to want to turn that off. Let's see, what about these? These just have colliders, right? They're just trigger points. So all of these ones need to be set to not is kinematic if we want them to freely fall, which we're probably going to want. So let's grab all of the components and turn is kinematic off. Save that really fast. Let's come back over here, and as part of what we're doing, we're going to make sure we grab that rigid body and turn kinematic on so that we can directly manipulate its position by having it being parented to that object. If we have a hover object, stored pickup, pickup. So we need to do stored pickup dot get component rigid body, and then we're going to do dot is kinematic is equal to false. We no longer want that to be kinematic. Trying to think. Yeah, I guess that's okay. Now let's come down here to hover pickup object, and we're going to set that to be hover pickup. Hover pickup dot get component rigid body, and dot is kinematic should be equal to true now. So we do want it to move around with us at that point and not be affected by physics in any way. All right. So down here on use end, else if stored pickup, if we've decided to let it go, we are going to grab stored pickup dot get component and do rigid body again, and we are going to set that rigid body dot is kinematic is equal to false. We set its parent to be null, and then we set our current stored pickup to be null as well. So I think with that we have the ability now to pick objects up based on their tag. So coming over here, let's just see what happens. Are these tagged properly? They are all tagged as pickup, P-I-C-K-U-P, all lowercase except for the first letter. So that is correct right there. So we should be good to go. Now on trigger exit, we're not resolving pick upable objects. If we exit an object and that's equal to our current hover pickup, we're going to want to turn that equal to null. So let's do if other.tag equals please. There we go. And we'll do pickup. Then we're going to want to see if that's the current hover object. If other dot game object is equal to hover object, hover pickup. Now that is a game object, not to transform. I'm storing the transform, right? Yeah, so I need to do the transform. So other.gameObject.transform is equal to hover pickup. Then hover pickup is going to be equal to null. So we get rid of that once we've let it go. So it's no longer hoverable. Once we've stopped colliding with it, so it's no longer being registered as a hoverable object. Okay, let's see what happens now when we go into the game itself. Clear this out. Let's get some space here. And we don't need animation or animator. Let's get rid of both of them. All right, let's hit run. I got to turn on all my Vive stuff because everything's off right now. All right, controllers are on. Headset is operational. And I have one lighthouse set up currently just because setting up two in my small room is a giant pain in the rear. So we're just going to go with one. All right, I'm sticking it on top of my head. Now, one interesting thing is that all the objects are still floating in space. Oh no, wait, those ones fell. So who's floating? Did they fall on top of each other? Is that what happened? Let's go to the scene view and take a look. Where am I? My head is right here. Oh, it's right there. Okay. So nothing fell. Did I turn? I didn't turn is kinematic off, did I? Is kinematic is off. I don't have use gravity on. That's the problem. All right, so let's grab all of the pieces. This is going to make a big mess, but let's do it anyway. Now let's hit run and see what happens. So there we go. All the pieces have fallen to the ground now. I know we have that game over. Let's just not think about that at the moment, okay? This thing is too big for my head. There we go. That's better. Okay, so now there's hand one. Here's my other hand. I believe I need to flip them around. Now I do have basic movement controls. I'm going to lose tracking, aren't I? Yep, okay. So actually, I'm too high up. I'm too high up to be able to do this. I can't even get low enough to pick things up. Come on. I'm hitting that. Did you see that? So here we go. I can't. It's through the floor. I have to reset the tracking. All right. So this is because I didn't set up tracking for the room, and I moved the lighthouse about 2 feet lower than it was before. So let's see if we can't set up VR tracking really fast and get that operational again. Okay. Here we are. Let's see. Can we do a quick start? Do I really need to update the firmware? Can I just run the room setup really fast? Standing only. Place the headset in a location visible from the base stations. All right. It's visible. Calibrating center. I don't have a measuring device. All right, I think I found tape measure. Okay, now let's do on the floor, enter 0. If you place it on your head, enter your height. I didn't place it on my head. Measure the vertical distance between the surface and the floor. All right, so the top of it to the bottom. All right, so this is not going to be easy when I'm holding this thing on my head. All right, you know what? We're going to redo that. I'm going to place it right there. We're going to do calibrate. And that is 29 inches exactly. Right? That's in inches? Yes, that's inches. Okay. All right. Done. Now let's see if this works for our game so that I can actually read. All right, everyone, at this point, everything kind of fell apart and I lost all audio recording. That's because I continued to get errors on my Vive as well as my audio input. And I didn't watch my capture devices. And because of that, well, this is what I have now. But anyway, mainly what I was doing was I was just continuing to test to see whether or not things worked. I continued to see that they were not working. I went in and checked to see if the buttons were correct. I would debug things. I would, debug.log it, see what would happen, and nothing beneficial was actually happening. That's the big problem. So eventually I get to the point where I'm like, well, what the heck is wrong? Because it's not my code. My code is fine. This is the code that I've been working with for a long time. Therefore, something with the controllers or the system itself had to change. And what you'll see very shortly is that I go in and upgrade or update my controllers and my devices to make sure that everything is working with the latest version of Steam VR and Open VR. And you know what? That's the fix. That completely corrected everything, got rid of the problem, and made everything work just fine. So anyway, there's a lot of, jumping around in code in the segments you're watching right now. I sped everything up a lot, but ultimately it came down to me needing to update my Vive controllers and make sure that the buttons were mapped right. You can see here, I'm trying desperately to make these buttons match up correctly, and it's just not happening. That's it. Don't worry about anything. In the next video, I'll probably talk about it if I remember correctly. And yeah, that's all. Keep your firmware upgraded is all I can say right now, because it'll save your ass, an hour of development time when you can't figure out what's actually wrong. So long, everyone. Good night and goodbye.